Good day, YouTube. Now, update 43 is now available on the PTS, and boy, I think Zos have done it again. Surprise, surprise, we have some changes coming to PvP that's going to affect everybody. I'm just going to zoom in into the vampire changes because I think that one has strong implications for my own build, for my own class. You can take your time to check out the rest of the other updates in this PTS. I'll leave a link in the description below, right? But zooming in into the vampire, I think there are some major changes happening to Undeath. Now, I think all those who are acquainted with PvP will know for now we all become bloodsuckers for one good reason and one reason only. That is to get to stage 3, get that passive where basically you're an Undeath and you can undo 30% of the damage done onto you once your health drops below 30%. So 15 to 30% is a big deal, and so I just read it out for you from the patch notes. Undeath, this passive now reduces damage taken by up to 5 to 10% down from the original 15 to 30%. Remove the stage 3 or higher requirement of this passive now that its bonus are far less potent. Developer comment, Undeath has granted incredibly sharp bonuses for a while, incentivizing huge investment into the Kiss Curse aspect that the Vampire has. This made it highly potent for players who could work around the trade-offs while simultaneously creating a very exclusive bonus that many could not get value out of. We are taking a different approach now, granting bonuses at a baseline to remove its restrictiveness, while also reducing the power density so it is far less enabling for survivability. Now off the bat, right, when I go into the forums, I think there were some people that were commenting that Vampire is kind of a meta if you want to do PvP. You need to have it to have any kind of valuable PvP play because there's no replacement for it. It is one of a kind. And they also commented that once it's meta, it means that there isn't so much diversity. It is not really that fun because you have to get it. Yeah, it's kind of like bread and butter. Yes and no. I guess, you know, the part that annoys me the most, right, is if you do a lot of PvP, your combat reflexes, your muscle memories have all kind of been calibrated and polished to a certain level. I know that if my health bar goes below 40%, for example, I have about 5 to 6 seconds left before I die, and during these 5 to 6 seconds I will analyze the situation and see if I would use these 6 seconds to either flee or to proc my crystal frag or to use my ultimate if it would be ready by within the next 5 to 6 seconds. A lot of decisions are based on your muscle memory of how long you think you can survive. So when Zos come along and do stuff like this, right, and change the passive, we are more squishy than before. We can no longer be as durable, so all these have to be recalibrated. All your muscle memory you have to throw off the window. Basically all your instincts will start to fail you. So essentially it is a bit annoying, but it's across the board. And so I think moving on forward, there are a couple of solutions to this, a couple of routes that you can take. There's no point staying on this for too long. Let's look ahead and see what we can do. If this remains unchanged and in update 43 this thing is implemented, which I think would be likely, you can either abandon the vampire skill line altogether. The logic being that the sacrifices for being a vampire is just too much for such a small return. We look at vampire at stage 1, right? At least stage 1, you have minus 10% health recovery plus 5% fire damage, and then a 3% on all your regular ability increase. Minus 6% vampire ability cost is basically meh because nobody uses vampire skills, right? They're all shit. Feet and Darkstalker are active on all vampire stages, whatever. So if you think that this is not a good trade-off for your 5 to 10% damage mitigation, then you should just abandon the skill line altogether. Right, so that's probably one route to take. Now, I think that is not going to be the most popular choice. I think that people who are already vampire may just want to stay as vampire because the next option may not be too bad. You stay as a stage 1. The negatives that you get, right, the nerfs that you get for being a vampire is not too bad actually, like minus 10% health recovery, whatever. You can make it up in other areas like change up your enchantments or slap on the Engine Guardian whatsoever, right? But you get a free 5 to 10% damage mitigation just remaining as vampire stage 1, and it also takes away the routine of having to feed on anybody for 2 hours. I think once you're stage 1 you stay as stage 1 like forever, I think. Okay, so yeah, I think that will be the most popular choice to make. Now if you want to venture into another option, you go to stage 2. Okay, you probably have to live with some of the negative downside, minus 30% health recovery, plus 8% extra fire damage, plus 5% regular ability cost, minus 10% vampire ability cost, but you get the strike from shadow. This is for certain builds like myself, who is based on a sort of like a crit gank build. I would hide most of the time, and then I would burst damage, go out of hiding, burst damage, strike from shadows, give me a 300 increase in my spell and weapon damage for 6 seconds, and I would still want to make use of that. But if I choose this route, it is very clear that in a long drawn battle, anything that if my initial burst doesn't kill the enemy, I'll be in for a very, very tough fight, because the damage mitigation is not there. 5 to 10% is not a lot, it's just in major protection kind of territory, and yet all the negativity of the vampire stage 2 will come and bite me in the ass, right? So yeah, this is one option. Stage 3 is a no-brainer. Nobody will go stage 3 now unless Zos works something out, like maybe give us magical recovery like the good old days. Back in the old days, being a vamp, you actually get magical recovery, right? But right now there's absolutely no point in staying as a stage 3 vampire, and not much for stage 4 vampire as well. So it's either stage 1 or 2. So these are the options that currently moving ahead, they can be available depending on the kind of build that you have. Are you a tank build? Are you a gank build? Are you a Nightblade? Or are you a sorcerer? So do leave your comments. I think I would play around with my set and gear to see which one actually works best. So I mean, just rotate it lah, flavor of the month kind of thing. If I stay as Vampire Stage 2, I would swap my monster set to the Belloc set, so that I increase my burst damage, and hopefully I can deal maximum amount of damage to my opponent when I go out of my hidden status mode. Bearing in mind that most PvP players are vampires, right? So this nerf happens across the board to all PvP players. So my burst damage now will probably reap a bit more positive rewards compared to the past, where everybody has a automatic 30% damage mitigation, right? Right now everybody's a little bit more squishy than before. I may choose to go Vampire Stage 2 to try out a gang build. If that fails or I get bored of it, I'll just revert to Vampire Stage 1. I will slap on my Engine Guardian. To make up for the loss of damage mitigation, I may choose to have 3 heavy armor instead of 2. I may adjust my enchantments and whatnot to get more health instead of multi-effect enchantments. So it's time to just play around a little bit. But yeah, bearing in mind this is just applying to the PTS server. So currently if you're just playing the game itself, right, it is still status quo, no change. So you don't have to make too much changes in the original game itself. But update 43, if this thing goes through, these are some of the things that you can look out for to preempt future changes for your build. Okay, I hope if you are a vampire, you find this video somewhat useful. Let's have a discussion. Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks and goodbye.